Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
It's March Mania at Sports Interaction. NHL, NBA, March Madness, MLB, and so much more. It's bananas. You can play Piñata Picks and Minute Madness, exclusive games with insane odds that you can't play anywhere else. Make your next bet with Sports Interaction. Download the app in Ontario, use the QR code at the bottom of the screen, or head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN to get started. 19 plus, please play responsibly. Hey Canucks fans, and welcome to Game Over Vancouver here on the SDPN network, the Steve Dangle podcast network. I am so thrilled that you're with me on an early Sunday evening, middle Sunday evening if you're back east. My name is Clay Emo. I'm Canuck Clay right here on YouTube. And right away, I encourage you to like this video, to subscribe to this channel, SDPN. We cover all 7 Canadian teams with post-game shows after all 7 of these teams' games. So you can follow, yes, like I said, like the video, subscribe to SDPN. If you want, you can also subscribe to me as well. I'm Canuck Clay right here on YouTube and on Twitter as well. I am riding solo tonight, but just like the Canucks, I'm going back-to-back this weekend. And I wouldn't say that I'm a good luck charm, but the Canucks seem to win more than they lose when I'm hosting these shows. Maybe it's because I've been hosting more of these shows in the past than the final third of the season. But with the Canucks 4-2 win, it's my favorite score, 4-2 win over the Chicago Blackhawks, the Canucks are now 16-9-2 under Rick Tocchet. That's 16-9-2 since Tocchet was hired as the coach in January 22nd, 2023, of course. 16-9-2. That's 7 games over 500. 16 subtract 9. Take away the 2. Don't worry about that. And if you extrapolate that over a full 82 game schedule, the Canucks are playing at a 103-point pace. So 103 points obviously gets you probably second place in your division. Obviously, you're right in the playoffs. And before some of you say, "Oh, deja vu, this is exactly what happened last year, Groundhog Day," all those jokes. I just kind of feel that this team's different than last year, the team under Bruce Boudreau. But I'll save that for the second segment. So this is what I'm going to do today. We're going to do about a 35 to 40-minute show. For the first segment, for 10 to 15 minutes, I'll break down today's game. For the second segment, I'm going to talk about all the positive signs I've seen that lead me to believe that this kind of run, this kind of bump, new coach bump, I feel that it is a little bit different than last season. I'll talk about obviously Quinn Hughes' record-breaking performance as well, and a couple other factors. So that will be the second segment. And the third segment, much like I do on my own live streams, my own shows, I will turn it over to you for some quick Q&A, but we'll save some of those questions from my own live stream later tonight. So let's get right to it. I'll go for the first little bit, but you're welcome to chat with each other in the chat section. You're welcome to ask each other questions, answer each other's questions, but I will certainly get to some of your questions near the tail end of the stream. As well, thanks to everyone for being here, whether you're my regular viewers on my own YouTube channel or you're brand new to me or to Game Over. Thank you for being here. See a lot of familiar names already, Carol and Fangirl and Derek, but please don't wait for me. Continue to interact with each other in the chat section. This was a bit of a boring game, admit. And I was thinking in the third period when it was still 1-1. So halfway through the third, it was still 1-1. I was saying, man, I sure hope something exciting happens. Otherwise, I'm not going to have a lot to talk about aside from maybe Hughes breaking the record for most points by a Canucks defenseman, which I'll get to in the second segment. But then we were treated to 4 more goals in the third period, almost a fight, which wasn't a fight, which led to one of the Canucks goals. So let's get to all of it right now. So the Canucks were coming off a back-to-back. They beat Dallas yesterday, as they always do. Chicago coming off a back-to-back, which is strange because that first game of the back-to-back was actually on the road. So Canucks got lucky here. Chicago had played 5 straight road games, and then that's one thing, 5 straight road games. That's fine. You always got to come back from a road trip eventually. but you usually don't have to play the night after you play your final road game of that trip. So yes, Chicago was on a back-to-back as well. So, and I don't know who they played yesterday, so I don't know if they were even more tired than the Canucks were. Regardless, it was a battle of two teams playing on the tail end of a back-to-back, and it certainly looked like it for the first. Well, it looked like it for the whole game. I think the Canucks were just better than the Blackhawks because, as I've always said, the Canucks can't tank. Even when the Canucks play average, their high-end players, i.e. Pettersson and Hughes, are much better than a lot of these other teams' high-end players, i.e. the Chicagos, the San Jose's, the Anaheims, the Columbuses. That's why the Canucks are higher than these teams in the standings. So Connor Murphy, the namesake of an actor in one of my favorite musicals, Dear Evan Hansen, he scores in the first period, and it's a shorthanded goal. So the Canucks, on one hand, they don't give up a power play goal to Chicago, but they still give up a lot of shorthanded goals. They score a lot of shorthanded goals, but they give up a lot of shorthanded goals. And this was Connor Murphy. It was former Canuck Jason Dickinson doing some good work behind the net, getting the puck out to the point. And I'm not sure if Delia thought that someone was going to pick him up, or if he just simply wasn't expecting a shot against on a power play. But it gets through everyone, including Delia. Kind of a soft goal. I think Delia could have saved it. I truly think he wasn't expecting it, or he may have gotten screened momentarily. So Connor Murphy, 6th of the season, puts the Blackhawks up with 4 minutes remaining in the first. In the second period, we get all the way to the end of the second period, but with 17 seconds left, it is Phil DiGiuseppe who scores a bit of a fluky goal. The Canucks held possession. It went Hughes to Miller to DiGiuseppe. DiGiuseppe was trying to center the puck to Brock Besser across the crease, but instead it goes off a Chicago Blackhawks defenseman and into the net. And now it's 1-1. So not only was it an important goal for the Canucks to tie up the game, but more importantly, it was Quinn Hughes' 69th point of the season. 5 goals, 64 assists. So those 69 points now are the highest ever for a Canucks defenseman in a season. And Quinn Hughes breaks the record held by Quinn Hughes. Yes, he broke his own record of 68 points that was set last season. So with 9 more games to go, you figure he can add another anywhere between 5 and 9 points to that total. So once again, Quinn Hughes, 69 points on the season, breaking his own record for most Canucks defenseman points in a season. Now, what's important about this, if DiGiuseppe's pass got over to Brock Besser and Besser tipped it in, then actually Hughes wouldn't have got that assist because he got the second assist on that one. Miller got the first assist. But doesn't matter in the end. It's 1-1 and Hughes has his record. Third period, not a lot of urgency despite it being a game up for grabs. And then Pettersson takes over, scoring 2 goals in 63 seconds. The first one, it was Reichel, who was very noticeable for the Blackhawks. He's actually a really good player. He was 17 minutes, 5 shots on goal. But yeah, Lucas Reichel, the youngster, 20 years old, he had a really good outing actually, and he was noticeable. So much so that Dakota Joshua decided to put him on his butt with a big, clean, open ice check in the neutral zone. So of course, as it is in the NHL, then now Blackhawks tough guy has to come over and challenge Joshua to a fight. And this was, I don't know if he's a tough guy. He's a big guy though, 6'3". Mackenzie Entwistle. The Blackhawks have some really interesting last names I was thinking about. But Mackenzie Entwistle comes over and tries to enter into a fight with Dakota Joshua. Joshua kind of stands up to him because he's just as big, stares him down. But to Joshua's credit, he does not engage in fisticuffs because he knew, he could probably see out of the corner of his eye that the Canucks had control of the puck and were entering the Blackhawk zone. Sure enough, it's Kuzmenko who gives it to Bear. Bear and Petey with a mini 2-on-1. Bear gets it across and Petey stuffs it in. Pass Mrazek. Really nice goal. Really smart play. And I said that the third assist should go to Dakota Joshua and for not engaging in that fight, because then the whistle would have blown and the Canucks would have given up that great scoring chance. So Petey scores, and now the Canucks are up 2-1. And you're thinking, against a pretty weak Blackhawks team, that might be enough to win the game. But no, Petey says that's not enough, and the Canucks get a power play. And then on that power play, PD scores again. Now, what I liked about this goal is all 5 Canucks skaters touch the puck in a span of 5 seconds to score the goal. But they don't give out third and fourth assists. Miller and Hughes were going back and forth on the point. Miller gives it to Hughes. Hughes shoots it. Besser tips it. It goes off of Kuzmenko's foot, and then it's rolling across the line. It might have had enough momentum, but PD makes sure. So reverse order, PD scored off of Kuzmenko's foot that went off of Besser's stick, that went off of Hughes' point shot off a pass from Miller. So like I said, all 5 skaters were in on that play, and that was the first power play where they took Filip Hronek off. It wasn't Hronek's fault they weren't clicking, but the Canucks, maybe they're overthinking it. They try to get 2 defensemen on their first unit, Hughes and Hronek, and then leaving Besser, Miller, and PD up front. But in the 2 power plays prior to this, wasn't really clicking. I think Hronek, not in no man's land, but he was kind of over on the left, but that took away a lot of Miller's creativity over there. So move Hronek off, and lo and behold, the Canucks score early on that power play. Again, only 1 minute and 3 seconds after the former goal. So PD scores twice in basically a minute, and you think the Canucks are home free. Then the aforementioned Lukas Reichel, he scores, and it was a point shot from Jones with the Blackhawks net empty, and it bounced off a couple of guys. I think Anthony Ciu may have touched it, and of course Lukas Reichel must have touched it because it went in past Delia. I think Delia was trying to gather the puck as Reichel was putting it in. So now with 2 minutes left, it's only a 1-goal game, 3-2. But with the net empty, no, it wasn't PD getting the empty netter. It was Brock Besser making a solid play along the boards, showing a lot of confidence, a lot of poise. He didn't pass it up. He didn't risk it getting intercepted going the other way. He just held on to it for an extra second and then whipped the puck into the empty net to score his 15th of the season. He scores 2 or 3 more, then he's closer to 20 as he is to 15, and then the season is not lost. In fact, I've talked about how Brock Besser has had a decent season anyways. So those were the goals, the 6 goals, 4 of the 6 goals coming in the last 8 minutes of the game. You look at the stats overall, it couldn't be really any more even. The shots on goal, 31-31. Face-off percentage, 50-50. Power plays, Canucks 1 for 3, Chicago 0 for 3. Penalty minutes, 6 apiece. Hits, Canucks are 21, Blackhawks are 24. Block shots, 19-11 for Chicago. Giveaways, 18-6 for Chicago. So that one's a little bit bigger. And then you look at the Canucks stats. Besser has his 2-point game, and then Pettersson has a 2-point game, and Kuzmenko. So PD with 2 goals, Kuzmenko with 2 assists, Besser with 1 and 1, and those are your players that had 2-point outings, along with Ethan Bear, a quiet 2 assists for Ethan Bear. Then single points, Miller with an assist, DiGiuseppe with a goal, and Quinn Hughes with an assist. Not a lot in the plus minus. No one was more or less than a +1 or a -1. Shots on goal. High man for the Canucks was 7 for Pettersson, followed by Hughes with 4. And then from a hit standpoint, you have Dakota Joshua with 4 hits leading the club. And then block shots, the most was Joshua again, the 3. So Joshua, no points, but a really good outing. He was +1 because he was on the ice getting challenged by Entwistle, but he did not drop the gloves. He had 1 shot on goal, 4 hits, 3 block shots. So in 14 minutes of ice time. In fact, no Canuck had less than 10 minutes of ice time. The closest would be Aidan McDonough. Now, Aidan McDonough, recent draft pick from a few years ago, recently signed to a 2-year contract, made his debut tonight. 10 minutes of ice time. He won all the faceoffs he took. I think it was only 1, the opening faceoff. And not a lot on the stat sheet. 1 shot on goal, 2 hits. So a couple of things that you notice about McDonough is decent size. He's 6'3", so he looks doesn't look small out there for sure. And I think his skating was fine. He didn't get a chance to show his big shot. And first game, so I'm certainly not going to go too hard on him. But a couple of giveaways. He wasn't credited with any giveaways, but a couple times where he did not get the puck out of the zone. Again, not a big deal, but I thought for a debut, not bad. And I can already see some people, I haven't thought of this yet, but maybe you're going to have to weigh his effectiveness against Kratsov's effectiveness, for example. And Kratsov was a healthy scratch. Podkolzin was also out, but that's not so much healthy as he is injured, whether it's a hand or a wrist, and differing reports whether it was a slash in the Dallas game or a puck to his hand. Whatever it is, the two Russians sat, and then it was Aidan McDonough and Jack Studnicka that came in for them. So overall, a solid, if not unspectacular, 4-2 victory for the Vancouver Canucks. Their second straight win. And like I said, I think they're still 8-2 in their last 10 games, which is still pretty impressive. And as I mentioned, 16-9-2 under Rick Tocchet. So let's talk about this team now. And yes, I know the Canucks, there's a similar feeling last season around this time when the Canucks played well under Bruce Boudreau and were pushing for a late playoff spot. This year, I don't see it happening. I know there's a bit of chat there's a bit of discussion in the chat whether the Canucks can make the playoffs still. You guys, it's going to be very tough. Even if they win all their games, their 9 remaining games, that would bring them to, they're at 73 points now, 73 points. So if they won all 9 of their games, it would bring them to 18. It would bring them to 91 points. And 91 points is only 91 divided by 164. It's only a winning percentage of 555. Right now, the Winnipeg Jets in the final spot have a winning percentage, a points percentage of 574. So it would somehow mean that the Canucks leapfrog Nashville, who will have a couple games in hand, Calgary, and Winnipeg. So as positive as I am, I'm certainly not counting it for the season. I don't think they're mathematically eliminated just yet, but I don't see it happening. But let's give credit where credit is due. The Canucks are playing well. And yes, as Erwin mentioned, the Canucks are now battled up to 500. They're 34, 34, and 5. When you think about 500, you just knock off the extra points, the 5. So it's 34 and 34. Same wins as losses, 73 points in 73 games. The thing is, to make the playoffs, you usually need to be about 12 games over 500. And that's about the 94 points, because 12 over 82 is 94. And the Canucks can only max out at 91. So as good as this run has been, let's not get too excited over it. But that's not to say that there aren't beating good teams. Yes, Chicago's not a great team. San Jose and Anaheim are not good teams. But the Canucks have beat some decent teams in Dallas, in Toronto, in LA. So they're beating playoff teams as well. But so I think that's the first argument one would make when I say, man, I'm positive about next season, not just because I'm the king of positivity, but because I'm seeing enough good things tonight, enough good things in the past 10 to 15 games, where I think as long as the Canucks come out of the chute healthy and playing well, that they have a chance to contend. Because I think you'd agree with me, it's pretty frustrating when you're already at the end of November or start of December and the Canucks are already out of a playoff spot, which is quite maddening for sure. Yes, Erwin, I mentioned the 69-2 under Tocchet at 103 point pace over an 82 game season. Now, for the Canucks to do well next season, this well, and remember they're doing it right now without a few key players. Up front, they're missing Ilya Mikheyev and they're missing Tanner Pearson. Those are the big ones up front that you call regular players. You have Podkolzin, who's out, hopefully not too long. And then, so Podkolzin, Kratsov was a healthy scratch. But really, Mikheyev and Pearson are out. Then on the blue line, you're missing Oliver Ekman-Larsson. And I know a lot of people were looking at Jack Rathbone and Christian Wolanin and saying, oh, you know, the Canucks have actually been good without OEL. But still, OEL, it sounds like he's up for he really wants to rebound next year. So you're missing OEL. You're missing Travis Dermott, who not sure if the Canucks are going to re-sign him as an RFA. Tucker Pullman has not played a single game this season. So you have all those kind of considerations as well. Is we're doing this without all those players. But I think there's about 4 or 5 things that have to happen next season for the Canucks to do so well out of the gate. Number one, they got to be healthy, especially at their key positions. God forbid something happens to Kuzmenko, Miller, Pettersson, or Hughes, or Demko. So number one, they got to be healthy. Number two, and it kind of goes with the same thing, Thatcher Demko has not only A, got to be healthy, but B, has to be playing up to his level. And I think those are the 2 main things for next season is overall health and then Thatcher Demko on top of his game. Number 3, I think if you can improve the penalty kill, and the Canucks have definitely improved under Rick Tocchet. I still don't like how they give up shorthanded goals, but that's when they're on the power play. When they're on the penalty kill, they've done enough to somehow move their penalty kill over 70% in the entire league. 70%. It's not great. Yes, I'm looking. They are now at 70.4. They are still dead last in the league, but at least they are at 70.4. Actually, it probably went up a tiny bit more tonight because this isn't updated. But yeah, so they're over the 70% mark. And I saw a stat by TSN that said this could be the first time in history that a team could lead the league in shorthanded goals, yet also be the worst team in the league when it comes to penalty kill percentage. That would be very impressive, actually, to have that feat. So the Canucks could very well do that. So those are 3 things off the top of my head that I think have to go well for the team next year. And then that is health overall, a good start to Thatcher Demko, and a good start for their penalty kill. Now, obviously, you can say a lot of other things. Is everyone else got to be healthy, and you got to get secondary scoring, and the defense can't be a train wreck like it was at the start of the season, of course. And those are all factors as well. But I think those are all secondary to me to the 3 that I just mentioned. Good health, Thatcher Demko on top of his game, and what was my third one? Oh yeah, and then better special teams from the start of the season. So as we go to the last little bit of this show, would love to take questions from some of you, and tell me quite honestly if you share my optimism. Do you share my optimism for? Oh, by the way, before I get to that, really quickly, is now when you look at the stats for the Canucks, Pettersson has 93 points in 71 games. So he missed 1, or he missed 2 actually. So he's got 93. So he's got to get 7 points in the final 9 games to break 100. I think he'll do that. JT Miller, also over a point per game player as well. He could finish with over 80 points, which would be still a good season for him. Quinn Hughes, 69 points in 69 games because he's missed a few. So that's also very impressive. And Kuzmenko now has 66 points in 72. So he'll just finish with just under a point per game. But those 4 guys, really, really good performers, and a big reason why the Canucks are playing so well. And I can't believe I got through 24 minutes without mentioning Colin Delia. Colin Delia played well as well, and kind of leads into a good first question from Erwin. Erwin saying, do we have the right goalies to back up and support Demko to have a lighter season load with injury insurance if he goes down? So Colin Delia is a UFA. He's a UFA, and I think you can generally find someone that can do what Delia does. There's a lot of goalies like him. Spencer Martin still has one more year under his contract. So I think they're going to give him a chance to battle for the backup job with another veteran goalie they'll bring in, whether it's Delia or someone else behind Demko. And then I think they want Silovs to play one more year in Abbotsford. So that's my guess about the goaltending situation. Fangirl, thank you for your question. I actually spoke about Aidan McDonough at length about 5 minutes ago. So I won't repeat myself, but I will say that I thought he was okay for a first game, 10 minutes worth. So not bad. Irwin says Hughes has beat his own franchise record of D points in the season. Yes, I also mentioned that as well, that he, with 69 points, he broke his own record of 68 points. So he will definitely probably hold that record forever as a Canucks defenseman. It'll be him who holds it, whether it's 69 points, 73 points. He might not necessarily break it every single year, but I think he will certainly be the one to break it, if that makes sense. What I'm saying is there's no guarantee that he's gonna increase every single year, but it's certainly a great start after only 5 years in the league. All right, guys. Thank you, Fangirl. Thank you, Irwin. Open to any other questions right now for the last 5 minutes or so. Do you share my optimism for next season? Do you agree with me that this feels a little bit different than last year's run, where last year's run, they're relying very heavily on Thatcher Demko heroics, and there's a different vibe around the team last year because there's such a good feel around Boudreau and such a stark contrast in mood to Travis Green, where this year, because people love Bruce Boudreau so much, it almost took a while for Rick Tocchet to be accepted. But I also think that he's forging his own identity and doing a really good job as well. So let me know what you think. Do you share my optimism? Do you see any differences? And for you, what are the important things coming out of the gate for next season for the Canucks to start off really well? Fangirl asked, do we trade Spencer Martin? I don't think so, Fangirl. There's no market for him because he struggled so badly this season. You're not going to get anything for him. So I think the smarter play is let him do the playoff run in Abbotsford with Seelovs. Let's see what kind of work he puts in over the summer. And let's see how he comes back in training camp next season. Because I fully expect it to be him battling with one other goaltender to back up Thatcher Demko, whether it's Delia or another veteran. And like I mentioned, I think they're going to keep Arthur Seelovs in Abbotsford for one more season in the AHL. So no, Fangirl, I do not think we trade Spencer Martin because I simply do not think that there's going to be a market for him. You're basically going to be giving him away for free, which is not good asset management. Okay, friends, as we're waiting here for a last bit of questions, let's make sure there's 30 of you in here, which is awesome, but there's only 5 likes. Let's bump that up for sure. Let's bump that up. We got to get to at least over 10 likes because you guys are Canucks fans. You got to be happy that the Canucks won and that they're playing well right now. You got to be happy that PD got 2 goals and that Quinn Hughes broke yet another record. Irwin says, is Besser gone in the offseason? This is a tricky one, Irwin, because we know the tough part about Besser is his contract. He's got 2 more years at $6.65 million. That's not cheap. And then you might say, man, the guy only has 15 goals this season. But then you also look, not only does he have 15 goals, but he's got 34 assists. So he has 49 points in 65 games. 49 divided by 65 is 0.75 points per game. His career average coming into the season was 0.79 points per game. So he's really right on track. He's right on his career average for points per game. I think it's because most of his points are assists as opposed to goals. That's maybe why we might think he's a bit of a disappointment. We know the stories of his agents being given permission to seek a trade. We know the Canucks have a lot of forwards and especially a lot of wingers. Kuzmenko, Podkolzin, Mikheyev, Besser, Garland, Beauvillier, Kravtsov, just to name a few. So there's a lot of guys there, and one could argue that both Brock Besser and Connor Garland one of them are expendable. Maybe not both. For me, I keep Besser over Garland, but I do think it's going to be harder to keep Besser or harder to trade Besser because he makes almost $2 million more than Garland a year. Great question, Irwin. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. Do you guys think Besser is gone in the off season. All right, friends, I got time for two or three more questions, if there are any in the chat. Yeah, Erwin says it's going to be a competitive forward mosh pit. I agree. I would really love the Canucks to get more centers and to trade for a third line center. I'm fine with Niels Oman being our fourth line center. I'm not sure if I'm completely comfortable with him being our third line center. And speaking of centers, the Canucks did sign a college free agent today. So he signed him to a 2-year entry-level contract. So I wouldn't expect this guy to be on the team right away, but they indeed signed Max Sasson to a 2-year entry-level deal, and he'll report to Abbotsford. And it sounds like the Canucks are closing in on another college free agent, a Japanese guy named Hiroshi. So we'll see if that happens in the next couple of days as well. Carol says, Clay, I do share your optimism. I also think that it's taking forever to get healthier and a better defense. We can go farther than this year. Yes, I agree. A better defense, a healthier defense. I'd say a better defense and a healthier team would go a long way. I agree. And Carol, by the way, it's our next members chat on my channel tonight. It's at 9:00 on Zoom. I'll email you as soon as I'm done here. I'll email you the link. Godly John says, do you see Demko moving? I don't. I see Demko along with Pettersson and Hughes as the untouchables for the Canucks. You need at least a superstar or a really elite player at each position. And in Demko, Hughes, and Petey, the Canucks do have one goalie, one forward, one defenseman. So no, I do not see him moving. Andrew, it's no surprise that Besser has had a bit of a down year. His died dad last year, so that will always be back of his mind. Yeah, I think the Canucks fans really love Brock Besser. They're willing to give him not even the benefit of the doubt. That's not the way of putting it. They can empathize, sympathize with him for sure. He's had a rough go, but you still have to match your play to your contract. And there are some fans who say he's not full value for his contract right now. But I'm with you, Andrew. I think Besser's even admitted to being a tough year mentally. So I've seen some strong parts in his game. Maybe he will continue to get better. Erwin Sasson apparently, as a Canucks fan in his youth, still a youth, pictured with merch in Instagram. Yes, there's a picture of him vacationing here back in 2010 when he was, I guess, 8 or 9 years old. So that was a pretty cool to see. Golly John, I feel bad for him. Similar to Gibson, they're both gems locked to sinking ships. Management needs to build a good defensive team. Yeah, totally agree about John Gibson. He's such a good goalie, but he's playing behind such a horrible defense. And I'd say there's a similar story there to Thatcher Demko, and not just because they're both American goaltenders as well. Friends, I have time for one more question. So the next good question, but then if I skip your question, then you're going to think I thought your question was bad. Regardless, the next question I see in the chat will be the final question of the night. And in the meantime, as we wrap up here, remind you to subscribe to SDPN, like this video as always, and you can also subscribe to me here on YouTube. I'm at Canuck Clay, and I have the same screen name on Twitter as well. I do nightly live streams 5 nights a week, Sunday through Thursday, 11 p.m. Pacific time. So it's a little late for anyone not from a Pacific time zone, except on Sundays tonight, where I start half an hour earlier and do an extended stream. I start at 10:30. So I would love to see you guys, invite you guys to join me tonight at 10:30 right here on YouTube, but on my own YouTube channel. Who do I think should be moved first? I think it should be a forward, and it might be Garland or Besser, actually, even though I just talked about how, yeah, it might be one of those two guys, because by doing so, you can get off some cap room. Erwin, prediction for next game. They're in St. Louis. I think the Canucks win. They're hot right now. They win 5-2. And I hope it's Binnington, because I love it when we light them up. Okay, friends, thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate you. Once again, on your way out, subscribe to SDPN, like this video, subscribe to Canuck Clay, If you want to join me tonight, 10:30 Pacific, I'll be doing the first of my nightly night live streams for this week. The Canucks' next game is on Tuesday. They are playing in St. Louis, and Kaya will be your host, your hostess with the mostess for that game on Tuesday. So I hope you can join her then for Game Over Vancouver. My next one is actually not until Sunday. Next Sunday, I seem to be doing the weekend ones, and I'll be doing that one actually from my meetup, and I'll share more about that on my channel, my Twitter account in the week to come. So hopefully you can join me for that one. But prior to that, make sure you're here on Tuesday night when Kaya wraps up Canucks versus Jordan Binnington and the St. Louis Blues. So once again, thanks everyone for being here. I appreciate your time. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, whatever time you have left. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. And, sad news. One of my friends, his obese parrot passed away today. Yes, his big obese parrot passed away. But he did tell me that it's a huge weight off of his shoulders. Take care and go Canucks go. Good night, everyone.
Game over! Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.